All right, welcome back everyone to our Week 11 now edition of the Fantasy Variation. We've got our 12th episode coming at you. We're back on a Wednesday night. Me and Colin here in the studio. Colin, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing well. Excited to talk football. My Colts stink. I took a fantasy loss, but I don't know. We're all right. We always got the Dodgers to look back to, so we'll keep
Yeah,
it there.
yeah, huge Dodgers guys here, of course. Uh,
How about you? How you doing?
Yeah, pretty crazy game for me. NFL from an NFL standpoint, I guess, with the Lions game this weekend. Jared Goff throwing 5 picks, and then we were down 23-7, I believe, at halftime, and then came back to win with 2 field goals that barely scraped through the uprights. So it was a crazy game. I think I lost maybe a couple years off my life watching that one, but it was a great one, and I'm happy to be 8-1. So the mood's still carrying over to me midweek here.
Well worth it. Yeah, that game was insane. I fell asleep like in the fourth quarter, and Lauren was watching it, and she didn't wake me up. She stayed awake the whole time. She never woke me up, so I missed it. But
Hey, that's classic Lauren, man. Big Lions fan. When we go to the Colts Lions game, I know she's going to be repping that Jared Goff jersey. So I'm
I
excited.
know, I know. Oh man.
All right. Well, what do you say? Should we get into our matchups from last week?
Yeah. I can kick us off. You know what? Actually, hang on 1 second. I think we're getting a call in right now. It might be a subscriber. Is anyone there?
Hey, this is Jake from Tampa, longtime listener, first time caller. I had a quick question for you guys here. Playoffs are starting to come around. We're week 11 now. Who do you guys think are some contenders? Who do you think are some pretenders? Also, let's talk about some wild card teams, specifically some 4 and 6 teams, maybe coming from the AFC.
Man, great question. And thanks for calling in, Mr. Miller. No, I know you're a big fan.
All right. Yeah, I
Uh,
love the question, Colin. What do you think? You want to start AFC or NFC? I think I've got an NFC team that I could talk about for a little bit for this question
all
here.
right, you kick us off here. Start with the NFC.
Yeah, so obviously I think the main contender here this year is going to be the Detroit Lions. Really, obviously from an offensive standpoint, maybe don't look at last game too much with all the interceptions, but obviously we know how good their offense is week to week. And then I think the main part that's really been so big for the Lions is their defense this year. Aiden Hutchinson out for the year. He had, I believe, 5.5, 6.5 sacks through the first few games, so he was really killing it. The depoy was all but his at that point in the year. He gets hurt. And the rest of this defense has really stepped up, man, especially Brian Branch at safety. He's a future star back there. So that's why I think the Detroit Lions are going to be the biggest contender in the NFC. Colin, I'll see if you agree here, but I've definitely got another team or two out here I could talk a little bit about.
I would agree with you. I think the NFC runs through Detroit. Miller, you asked about pretenders. I think the Cardinals are definitely pretenders. If they can get in, Falcons, I don't see winning many games either. But one team that I think is going to be slept on in the NFC, Green Bay Packers. They are legit. I know that division's insane. But Packers, if they can sneak in, they are definitely a sneaky team.
Yep, that's actually the one I was going to say for my other team from the NFC. I think at the beginning of the year, I was already talking about how much I like the Packers roster and how much they scared me for an NFC North title this year. They've got a good offense and a good defense, and it seems like they're getting healthy now, right at about the right time. So
Definitely.
we'll see if the momentum can keep them going. I think they're coming off a bye, so we'll see if they can have a big week here against the Bears. Hopefully not. I'm still going to be rooting against them, but I really do think they're a well put together football team.
Absolutely. Mr. Miller, what are your thoughts on the NFC?
Yeah, I agree 100% with you guys. I think Packers are a solid team that's going to come up. Don't see, I mean, the Falcons already beat the Buccaneers twice out of the NFC South. They're going to run away with the NFC South. Don't think they're going to do much in the playoffs, though. Yeah, I agree everything with what you guys said. It's the Lions versus everyone right now.
Lions versus
Exactly.
everyone.
All right, and maybe let's swing it over to the AFC for a second. Before I answer this part of your question, I got a question for you, I guess. Big Bengals fan, I know, obviously. How are you feeling about the rest of the season? Because they're obviously a good football team, but in a really tough spot right now with their backs against the wall at 4-6. So what do you see out of them through the rest of the year?
Yeah, offense is elite. Defense is horrible. So I think we got to outscore teams, and I think we can do it. I think it's a real tough half of the schedule. Got the Chargers this week, got the Steelers twice after our bye. The rest of it, it's like once we Titans, we Cowboys. It's a pretty soft end of the year, so I think we could on a win streak. But I think AFC is soft in general. We're full ball we're out. So I think it's going to come down between the Broncos, Colts, and Bengals for that 7 seed. I could see one of the teams being 9-8, 8-9, not make it.
Yeah,
gotta watch out for those Colts, man.
Well, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say the two teams you mentioned there, the Bengals are obviously much, much more talented than them. So we'll see if they can pick up a bunch of wins here. But yeah, you're probably talking like what? They probably got to win. They got 7 games left. You probably got to win at least five, maybe 6 of those games. So yeah, we'll see what they can do here.
Two Steelers games is tough too.
Yeah.
Did you say they
really good? But I mean, I think it's going to be the same as every year. I think they're going to kind of end 9, 10, 11 wins, and I'm not sure if they can. I don't think they have the team to make a run this year. I don't, but they have very solid defense, and defense will lead you in the playoffs. So we'll see.
True that.
Yep.
Well, I was gonna chime in when we were talking about NFC. I was looking at something like probably a week ago, and I was gonna do. I didn't end up doing it, but I was gonna do exact winner of the Super Bowl with 2 bets: Lions beating the Chiefs or Chiefs beating the Lions. I don't know. The Chiefs haven't looked amazing as of late, but I mean, dude, they're just one of those teams that finds ways to win. I know it'd be really hard to repeat again, but I mean, I don't know. I don't see many teams fighting with the Chiefs in the playoffs. Maybe I can make an argument for the Ravens, but I don't know. They're on another level in my opinion.
I think the Bills are a very solid squad. We'll see this weekend when Chiefs-Bills are this weekend, but I think the Bills' defense are a lot better. Bills' defense is a lot better than a lot of people think, and I think they have a chance to kind of make a run this year.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, and those top 3 teams out in the AFC, obviously you got the Ravens, the Bills, and the Chiefs. I don't think any of them are necessarily pretenders. I mean, a lot of people are talking about the Chiefs not maybe having a lot of great wins, but it's the Chiefs and they have a great defense. So that's kind of something you can trust in the playoffs, along with just having Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. You already talked about the Steelers maybe being pretenders at the top. I think the team that I'm kind of lowest on near the top is the Texans. I know they just had a pretty dominating performance against the Lions, totally killing their run game. But I feel like a lot of their games just haven't been super impressive, and they're more of a roster, like compared to the Chiefs, that I could see kind of slipping once we get like close to playoff time and into it. So I don't think I see the Chiefs really slipping like a lot of people are talking about once we get to the playoffs. I think it might be more of the Texans this year that we see kind of with a great record and maybe not perform super well.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, you can talk about like the sophomore slump from CJ maybe a little bit. I don't know. I mean, if he's not dialed in and throwing for 300, 350, 400 in the playoffs, I don't really see them winning either. So it's a good point. Well, Miller, any closing thoughts on anything, any sleepers or any other remarks from your question?
I got really nothing. Maybe a sleeper for this week, Courtland Sutton. Bo Nix has been loving on him.
I like it. We
turned the corner on Sutton, so he's starting this week. He's been riding pine for me, starting now. So
here's a question for you. If you had Courtland Sutton and Calvin Ridley, are you taking Courtland Sutton over him? Both those guys have been going off lately. I think Ridley. Who does Ridley play?
Yeah, completely playing right now.
Minnesota.
Plays the Vikings. So another decent matchup for him too.
Yeah, it's interesting. Both of them have 2 young quarterbacks that, I mean, they're targeting them a ton. I would think if you have a wide receiver 2 slot and a flex spot, I think you would want both of them in there. But I think I would go with Courtland over Calvin.
I like the answer.
We got that one later in the show. So I got the Ridley side and he's got the Sutton side. So we'll see who ends up on top after this weekend.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it, man. Go Bengals.
Who did?
All right. Well, now I'll start diving into the matchup. Let's see here.
Hold on. Before that, can we just get a quick round of applause for Miller?
Yeah.
Question there. Very thought-provoking. Just kind of see where people stand on some of the top dogs in both the AFC and the NFC. So great question, Miller. Thanks for calling in.
Absolutely. And great to have a Bengals fan on here. I feel like we've talked about the Bengals a lot, and we haven't had a Bengals fan on here too. So Great to get that insight.
Yeah, definitely an interesting team, and like we said, so we'll see how they come down the stretch. I'm definitely going to be pulling for them, as I have a lot of friends and family that are Bengals fans. But yeah, we'll see if they can get it done. I'm a little skeptical with how tough their end of schedule is probably going to be.
I'm with you. Yeah, they might have to put up 45 points a game, and that might not even get.
That might not be enough.
We'll see. Oh man. All righty. Well, diving into recent matchups. I am very nervous. I do not like my chances of making the playoffs. Really needed a win last week. Didn't get it done. Put up 102. I was looking at my scores from the entire year. I have not put up more than 128 points in a week yet, and that is not going to get it done. I think the last 5 weeks, my highest score is like 118. So I've talked about it a good amount. I really don't have any of those guys on my team that are going to like give you a big 30 or 35 point week. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm really down on my team right now. Definitely need DeAndre Hopkins to maybe become a league winner. You never know with him. I'll be relying on Jalen Waddle too here. Maybe Tua can stop throwing picks and leaning with his head, tackling guys, and stay on the field. And maybe remember that Jalen Waddle's a really good wide receiver. I don't know. Who am I? But it's rough. We got Dean coming up this week, and then I was even looking ahead. I got running backs on buys coming up. I don't have running backs either. I got Breece Hall, who has underperformed the entire year. David Montgomery, who's been solid, pretty much getting exactly what I wanted out of him. But I'm gonna be starting like either like Jonathan Brooks or like Justice Hill or someone horrible in the next coming weeks. So it's going to be interesting. Definitely going to have to get lucky over the next few weeks.
Yeah. And you said what? You haven't scored over 128 the entire year?
I've not scored over 128. And we play double flex.
That's tough. And just for a comparison, I pulled up, because I've always got it on hand, the score from our finals game from 2020. Just for comparison on the scores for a playoff game. I scored 193 that game, and you scored on the losing side 137. So 128 is probably not going to get it done in the playoffs, like you said. We'll see, though, if some people can turn it on late in the year. Like Jalen Waddle's been really underperforming. Marvin Harrison's still a rookie. He's been underperforming. You could always see him getting better as the year go on. And then even Breece Hall has been underperforming thus far. You can see if maybe he can turn it around. So I feel like you've got some pieces that still have some positive outlooks, but just haven't really like performed thus far. So I feel like you still got a decent outlook, but this playoff race is getting really tight. So
I was going to say it needs to happen right now. And I guess I didn't mention Marv either. Marv, I mean, we've mentioned him over the course of the year, kind of putting up like 3 points or 20 points. Maybe he starts scoring more tutters and we can turn this around. But yeah, I think if I lose this week, I'm basically done. So huge week coming up for me. Oh, and in my defense, that score that you brought up, I think I was down like 55-0 by like 10 o'clock on Thursday night. So didn't have much of a chance there.
It was, I don't remember what day Christmas was on that year, but it was earlier than that. Whatever time it was earlier than that night when that deficit.
All right.
So shout out to that one. And just before I move on to my game, shout out to Tanish too. I feel like he's been scrapping out some wins here, and he's right back in the thick of things in the playoff race. Looks like he's in 7th right now. So on the outside looking in, but just knocking on that door. He's only missing the playoffs, I assume, because of points scored.
Yep, exactly.
Is there a 4-6 team in there right now? Yeah, Elgin's in there, but just more points. So, yeah, shout out to Tanish. I feel like he's really come alive here in the last couple weeks this season, and we'll see if he can find his way into the playoffs.
Definitely. Yeah, he started 2-6. Now he's looking at potentially getting in those playoffs.
Yep. All right. Well, I guess let's swing it over to my game here. Let me pull it up. Lost this week. Final score was 149-132 against Barrett. Let's start out here. Quick shout out to Zach, who dropped the Eagles defense, who was playing the Cooper Rush Cowboys this week and allowed Barrett to pick him up and score 20. Barrett defense had scored 0, we would have won. So shout out Ironheads for that one. He still picked up a win though, so I'm sure he's not too mad. I'm just going to vent here a little bit about how Barrett's defense scored 20. But other than that, he had Lamar Jackson going on Thursday night and scored 33. We had Chase Brown who scored 22 as well. So I thought we were out to a decent start. But Barrett's team had a pretty good week, obviously scoring 149. It was kind of just a all around, like well-rounded game from his team, other than his defense really putting in their fair share. That's for sure. And then as for my team, I literally said after the first 2 weeks, if I was 5-5 after week 10, I'd be thrilled. And here we are sitting at 5-5. So I can't be too upset with kind of the injuries we've dealt with and fighting the 5-5 here. And I still feel like I've got a pretty good team that maybe it doesn't stack up when you look at it next to Ron's team, but I feel like any given week, this team could certainly put up points. So I really do like where we're at going into playoff time. Kyler Murray's kind of a guy I feel like I was ragging on a little bit for not having great performances, but he's been fantastic these last few weeks. I want to say like 3 of the last 4, he's had 20-plus points. Let me make sure that that's true. Yes, 3 of the last 4, he's had 20 points, and then 4 out of the last 6, he's had 20 points as well. So he's really been performing well of late, and I really need him to carry me here because when you take a quarterback early like that in the draft, you really need him to be putting up like at least 20 points a game, and Kyler's not there yet. So looking back on the pick now, and I even said at the beginning of the year, I didn't like the value I got on him. So with how he's been playing, I'm really happy with it, and we'll just have to see if he can continue into playoff time because I actually think he has a tough fantasy playoff schedule. I feel like I keep seeing, so we'll see if he can fight that.
Really? Yeah, what do you expect? Like, do you think you'll go to another quarterback off the waivers, or you think you'll ride Kyler throughout it all?
Oh, I'm going to ride Kyler. I guess I didn't say for this week. I still haven't even picked up a quarterback or a tight end. Kyler and McBride are on buys, so I don't even have a quarterback and tight end on my roster that are playing this week. So we'll see what we're going to do. I do like a couple guys on waivers, though. We're going to talk about Goff and Drake May a little bit. So I assume everyone in our league isn't going to pick up every single quarterback just to collude against me. So I feel like I could probably share a little bit on there because I'm fine with so many guys on waivers right now.
Definitely.
And tight end, I'm fine with no guys on waivers right now. So I won't be talking about anyone that I like because there's no one.
I'm with you. Yeah. No, but I guess you're in a much better spot than I am. You got that 5-5, but again, I mean, I feel like everybody right now besides Ron and Riley are really fighting for those playoffs.
Yeah. We have a 9. Sorry, I was just going to say, so we have a 9-1, 8-2, and 6-4, and then we have 3 teams that are either 5-5 or 4-6. So yeah, we got a gridlock in there for those last handful of spots. Looks like the Ironheads might pull away a little bit, but those last 3 are certainly up for grabs right now.
Definitely. No, but shout out to Barrett on the win. That was definitely a good win by him. And then I want to shout out Ron again. I'm looking at the projections right now for this week. His team is projected a whopping 149.1, and his tight end is Jonnu Smith. He's projected 8 points, and he's still projected at 149. His team's just on another level right now.
And here's where you left out too. That Nico Collins is still in the IR slot. So
oh my
if you were to
God.
put him in, it would be higher than that.
Oh my Lord.
So yeah, the rest of the league, we're gonna have our work cut out for us here come playoff time, and he's also got Tyrone Tracy on his bench on a bye. So he's just got loads of talent at his disposal, and he's super deep, so he could survive a couple of injuries and still have probably the best roster in the league. He did take his first loss though, so shout out Riley for getting the win there against Ron, and at least letting the rest of us sleep at night knowing that we didn't allow someone to draft a 14-0 team.
No shout out to Riley. Riley's currently actively talking crap to me about my team. So no shout outs to him.
Sorry. No shout out Riley. How about a shout out to Dean? 2 wins in a row now. He's all of a sudden not completely dead. Only 2 games back with 4 to play. So anything can happen. I'm sure his points 4 is not good. So he's probably not going to have that tiebreaker over many people, but yeah, he's right back in the thick of things. So
I'll shout him out for now, but no more wins at least for this week for Dean. Colin desperately needs it. So
yeah, he's making things complicated now.
Right. Oh man. All right. Well, moving on from that, we can transition into our love hates. I'll make mine real quick from last week. I had one that was good. I loved Kareem Hunt at 24, and he finished at I think RB8. So that was a good play there. And then I said I loved Zay Flowers and Brian Thomas Jr., and I think they combined for like 10 total points. So neither one of them did well. So we'll move on from those.
I was in the exact same boat with my picks this week. I nailed my running back pick, Tyrone Tracy. He finishes the RB13, and if he didn't have that fumble at the end of the game, if he just fell down where he was, he would have finished as RB8. So I feel like that was a good pick this week. And I was even a little disappointed. I thought he was going to have a better day than he even did. So still shout out to him for a great game. And then for wide receivers, they both did not do so hot. Tank Dell against the Lions, a really weird game where they didn't have to throw the ball as much as I had anticipated. He only finishes with 8. And then Jalen Waddle as well. And I wrote this down too. He had, what was it? I believe 7.5 fantasy points after the first drive, which would have put him at wide receiver 46 on the week. And then he finished as wide receiver 39 at the end of the game. He really just did borderline nothing the rest of the game. I thought that was going to be a home run pick after the first drive, but not so fast.
Tough. Well, I know we had Nichols on here too. We'll recap his picks real quick. Make this real quick because his didn't do too well. I think he loved Tyreek Hill, who did not have the best game, and then he loved, oh shoot, I just lost it. He hated Lamar Jackson, who went off against Cincinnati. And then he did not like Christian McCaffrey, which I agree with. I mean, the reasoning was there, but McCaffrey had his full workload back, which we weren't really expecting, and he finished as the RB10. So I don't remember where he was to start the week, but I'm guessing probably right around there.
You got to take it easy on Nichols. That's 2 hits right there. Lamar Jackson was QB1, and he finished as QB2. And then Christian McCaffrey was RB6 and finished as RB10.
Okay, you're right. My bad.
Down it.
Well, the Lamar Jackson one's a little iffy there. But we'll count McCaffrey. Oh man. All righty. Well, I guess I'll dive into the love hates this week. We're going to start off with Drake May at QB 13. I don't love it, but with that being said, I mean, so he plays the Rams, who give up the 22nd most passing yards to opposing quarterbacks. But one thing that kind of caught my eye too, he's rushed for 24, 95, and 46 yards in the last 3 games. So I'm hoping he can get a few carries and maybe break a few. I mean, that makes such a big difference with quarterbacks if they can get rushing yards. And who knows, maybe if he sneaks in, he can get a touchdown rushing, which is obviously good points. But week 9, he put up 16 points with 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles. Is that likely to happen again? Probably not. Is he probably going to throw a pick or a fumble or maybe both? Yeah, maybe. But I mean, if he's putting up 16 with 4 turnovers, I like the odds there. And just to put it in perspective, he is only projected 16 points here too, and that puts him at the 13th ranked quarterback. I like him to get like 18, 20 here. Just like the matchup in general. So we're going to take the flyer on Drake May.
Yep, I love this pick, and I already think I said at the beginning that I like Drake May this week, and he might be my quarterback for Cup of Bryce this week. Like you said, he's got a great matchup, and I feel like he's been playing some really great football here these past few weeks, really seeming like he's settling in, and which has been kind of surprising with how bad like their offense is in general, but he's really given them a spark. So yeah, I really like this pick in a game where I think the Rams are going to be mad after their performance against the Dolphins, and I could see the Patriots having to try to play keep up. So yeah, I really like that pick.
Definitely, I agree. What do you got for your first one? You got a love or you got a hate?
I've got a love, and it is also a quarterback, and it is also my quarterback. I'm going to love Jared Goff this week against Jacksonville. Yes, I know, terrible performance last week. And yes, I know, also probably a bad game script, which I feel like I'm usually a big game script guy for making these picks. But this is obviously a game where I believe the Lions are favored by, I want to say 13.5 last time I checked. So they're big favorites, probably not going to have to throw a lot to win this one, hopefully, knock on wood. But the reason I love Jared Goff this week, not only are the Jaguars 30th in points given up to fantasy quarterbacks, so it's just a great matchup overall. Even when the Jaguars have to play from behind against a lot of teams, it seems like the quarterbacks are still putting up great points on their defenses earlier in the game. So I think Jared Goff could definitely do that. And then also looking at Jared Goff's fantasy points from this year a little bit. So we have 8 wins this year and 8 games to look at in wins. And I'm expecting this Jaguars game to be a win, obviously. So the last 2 games, obviously the weird one in Houston with 5 picks, and then the game in Green Bay before with the rain. But looking at his 6 wins from games other than that, he scored at least 14.5 in each of them. So I feel like he's got a really solid floor in this game, in a game where he should be winning. The last 2 games I feel like were just too weird to look at, where he only scored 9 in pouring down rain and then 7 in that 5 interception one. So excluding those, I feel like he's a safe option. And then even against the Jaguars, I feel like he could have a high ceiling if Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell are just like, after that performance against Houston, let's put the whooping on him. So I could definitely see something like that happening and Jared Goff just slinging it for 4 quarters, even if we don't need it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that point up because I was going to ask about that. I felt like, and I mean, I could be wrong here, but I felt like even when the Lions are just pounding on teams, I mean, they don't take their foot off the gas. So love that pick, and like you said, I mean, it's a safe play. The floor is what, low, or floor is
high.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I like the pick.
Yep.
All right, so number 2, we're sticking with a love. Again, not one that I'm super confident in again, because I don't think this guy's ever finished this year at this position. But we're gonna love Breece Hall at 11. He's on my team. He has been super underwhelming this year, like we mentioned earlier, but he plays the Colts, a team that I'm pretty familiar with. Colts give up so many rushing yards to opposing running backs. It's not even funny. I feel like every running back that they play against just puts up great fantasy numbers. Yeah, is 11 high, but I'm not too worried about Braylon Allen. I was scared of him earlier in the year. Not too scared of him right now. And Anthony Richardson's back. Who knows? Maybe Richardson's pissed and they keep it close in this game. Continue, or let the Jets continue to maybe dump it off to Breece and continue to put up touchdowns. It's worrisome that Jets offense look horrible. But I like this pick here, and I like him to go over 11.
Yeah, dude, I like this pick, and he's just been such a weird player all year, and I feel like one of these games, like the Jets are just going to play like their season is on the line, but we're just yet to see that happen despite their season being on the line week in and week out. So we'll see. Like you said, it's a fantastic matchup against the Colts that I think he should be able to run all over. Will the Jets let him do that? I don't know. So I want to say I like the pick, but man, Breece Hall just continues to disappoint, and this offense just continues to disappoint.
This is the last chance I'm giving him. After this, if he doesn't put up numbers, then I might cut him from my fantasy team.
Don't do that. I don't have any fab, so please.
All right, fair. I'll trade you to him for what? Maybe a bag of chips.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, sounds good.
All right, after I accept this trade, let me get into my next love-hate here. I've got another love from the Lions game. And it's on the other side of the ball, actually, which might not be the greatest with Mac Jones at quarterback this week, but I'm going to love Brian Thomas Jr. at wide receiver 35. I feel like I just keep saying the Lions are a pretty good matchup for wide receivers, and I believe they're still top 3 in points given up to wide receivers, though their defense, like I said at the beginning of this episode, has been impressive this year. Like I said with the Goff pick, though, I expect the Jaguars to have to play behind. So this is going to be more of a game script pick. I expect the Jaguars to have to just throw the ball a lot. And the Lions run a lot of man coverage. So I feel like Brian Thomas is the type of guy that, although Carlton Davis has been playing great football at cornerback, I feel like Brian Thomas could have his way against him just with his size and speed and all that. So I really like Brian Thomas to do well. I just need Mac Jones to look somewhat competent out there. And he didn't look like it last week against the Vikings, but the Vikings are a great D. So I'm trying not to take too much away from it and continue to love Brian Thomas against the Lions.
Yeah. I mean, wide receiver 35, that just seems way too low for a guy this talented. I mean, it is Mac Jones, but I mean, I've got a little bit of faith in him. It's definitely not the worst backup you could have on your team. But I'll leave it at that there. I'll be talking about the Lions later on in the episode.
Perfect. Yeah. And we'll have to see with Mac Jones, man. And it kind of sucks because I feel like I'm a pretty big Mac Jones supporter. Like, I think he's a pretty decent quarterback, but last week we really just didn't get to see that. I don't know if he's a starter. I don't know if I want to put my flag in that ground there, but I think he's a really solid quarterback. And I was surprised by how little success they had throwing the ball against the Vikings, albeit against a good defense. So we'll see what it looks like, maybe more against average defense in the Detroit Lions.
Yep. All right. Well, my last pick, we're sticking with another love. I don't think I've done a hate in a while, so we're gonna keep the love going. But we're going with Terry McLaurin at 19. It's a difficult matchup for him. I'm not gonna lie. The Eagles are the third ranked pass defense in terms of passing yards given up on the year. But this is a Thursday night game. I expect. Well, before I say that, Eagles Commanders, huge division implications here. Whoever wins this game, I think take the lead in the division standings. So it's a massive game. So I expect Washington to be prepared and ready for this tough defense. And Terry's just been super consistent. He's projected 12.5 this week. But the last 5 games, he's gone over 15.8 points, with a few games over a little bit over that too. So I mean, I'm expecting him to at least keep that trend continuing, and finish above 19. So, and if I'm not wrong, do we both have futures on the Eagles winning that division, or do you
Yeah,
have?
I have that Chiefs Eagles one. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll definitely be rooting for the Eagles in this one. But Washington, obviously I've got Jaden Daniels in league. But we'll at least hope for Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin to connect on a few.
Yep. Yeah. I love this pick because I think it's going to be a high scoring game. Like you said, the Eagles and Commanders are in a divisional game here for the lead. So I think both offenses are going to show up on Thursday, even though we don't always get a great game on Thursday offensively, even though we did just have one with the Bengals. We don't always get it because short rest and whatever. But yeah, I like this to be a high scoring game. And I think that leads me right into my last pick. I'm going to love DeVonta Smith against Washington, wide receiver 27. The Commanders' defense has been a lot better than I think I expected at the beginning of the year. I want to say I looked it up and they're 18th. Shoot, now I'm trying to think of what it is. Like 18th best at preventing fantasy points from wide receivers. So they're kind of like a middle of the pack type of defense against wide receivers. But it's really just because I think this is going to be such a high scoring game, why I love him this week. The Commanders defense, like I said, it's been good, but it's still not like a great defense. So it's not like a matchup you want to shy away from. And then just with the game script supposed to be high scoring. I don't know exactly what the over under is this week. I don't think I ever looked.
I think it was 48.
Really? Man, I might have to take the over for that as well, along with my best bets. But yeah, I think it'll be a high scoring game. So yeah, I like Terry and I like DeVonta too.
There we go. Yeah. I got no nothing against DeVonta. I mean, he put up. Did you mention it? He only put up 3 last week, so I expect him to bounce back this week. And yeah, that Washington defense so. I'll be rooting for him.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of sucks is he's dealing with a hamstring injury from Sunday. I think he's going to play, though, last time I checked. He didn't practice Monday, which I was assuming was just cautionary, but I don't think I've seen anything saying that he's not supposed to play or anything, so I assume he'll be good to go.
Yeah, and on the fantasy app, he doesn't even have a questionable right now. So
I literally just looking that up. Yeah. Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, he could be good to play. He might be a little hampered by the hamstring, but if he's already ruled good to go, then I wouldn't have huge concern.
Definitely. Well, that sounds like a 6-0 on the love cards there this week.
Of course, it always is.
Absolutely. Well, let's transition into our start six. Feel like we haven't done these in a little while. I think you've got a 1-game edge on me, so it's a big week. I like our matchups here. I think a lot of these are real toss-ups. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But with that being said, who do you like in this first matchup? We got Jalen Waddle versus Jameson Williams.
Yep, I've got Jameson Williams, as I've had probably 2 or 3 times before on this segment. He seems to be a common suspect here, which is probably makes sense because he's probably a guy a lot of people are thinking about starting and sitting every single week. Yeah. And shout out to you. This is actually from your team as well as my dynasty team, I guess. But shout out, this is from your team, and you're deciding between these 2 wide receivers here. And I'll keep this one a little bit short, I guess, because it's really just the same reasons that I like Jared Goff. So I really think it's a good matchup for all the wide receivers and honestly, just everyone on the offense. I think it's a great matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then if I'm going to love Jared Goff, I'll go ahead and double down here on Jameson Williams and say that he'll catch maybe a deep bomb in this one because, like I said, I think this coaching staff is really going to want to put the pressure on the Jaguars, even if they're not a super crazy roster. This team will just want to show that they're really still that team after a lackluster performance.
Definitely. Well, I'm gonna stick with my word here. I'm gonna start Jalen Waddle, no matter unless there's an injury here in our league. So I mean that's good news for you. The way my fantasy league's been going this year, Jameson Williams is gonna put up like 27 points on my bench. But I'm just praying on Tua coming back to life with this offense and remembering Jalen Waddle exists. Both these guys, I feel like both these guys run the risk of putting up like 2 points. But I'm kind of hoping the Lions blow him out and no bombs are thrown to him. I feel like that's the only way he scores. And hopefully Jalen Waddle, hopefully that offense puts it together. So we're going to go with him.
Yeah, this is an interesting one too, because I feel like both these guys have a super low floor and a super high ceiling. So I could see this
Exactly.
one being like a 2-3 battle or like a 30-28 type battle. So we'll see
Exactly.
if we end up with one of those or if it's 30-2 and it's a complete blowout. So
Definitely. Definitely.
and I will
Well,
say too, I do like Jalen Waddle too. I think I had sent you a list of 5 players that I love this week, and 2 of them were actually JMO and Jalen Waddle. So I still really like him this week. I'm still going to believe and continue to stake my flag in the ground here on Jalen Waddle that he's still good and good for fantasy this season. So we'll see. Hopefully not this week, I guess, but in the future.
I was gonna say Jalen Waddle's a guy we've talked about a lot and has not put up numbers. He's in the same category as Brees Hall. This is the last time I'm going with him, and if not, I might be trading him for a bag of chips. I don't even know if he's worth a bag of chips at this point.
Colin Cole team's going to be getting cut after this week.
Yeah, we're making moves after this week. So
except for Monty, got to keep him around, obviously.
oh yeah, Monty's a lock. He can put up 2 points the rest of the year, and he'll be starting. Oh man. Well, the next one we got is Rico Dowdle against Ricky Pearsall. Who you like there?
Yeah, and this one's actually from my 16-man league team. So yeah, rosters are pretty ugly. I feel like I've even got a pretty decent team. I'm 9-1, but roster's not very good. We've just been eking out wins left and right. So I got this matchup here to decide between, and I'm going to go with Ricky Pearsall this week. I'm going to go with the wide receiver side of things. I just really like what I've seen from him so far in both of his games. He's got double-digit points in both of his games, kind of as like a full-time guy. So he's been performing well, and I think this is a good matchup here against the Seahawks as well, where we could see the 49ers offense kind of march on them. The only thing I'm a little worried about is I think I saw that there might be some rain here in this game, so that could obviously kill some of the passing attack, which would kind of suck. But I still like Ricky Pearsall, and I still think he'd get involved even if the weather's not great. So we'll see if that ends up being the case and how the weather pans out. But as for Rico Dowdle, I just don't think I really love him this week with how bad the offense looked. With how bad the offense looked last week, coupled with how good the Texans' run defense looked against the Lions. I mean, Montgomery and Gibbs could not get anything going. I think they averaged maybe a little over 3 yards a carry combined, which for them is like unbelievably low. I want to say Gibbs was averaging 6.5 coming into the game. So that's really killed them. And I don't see Rico Dowdle being the guy to kind of break through this defense, especially on an offense that teams are probably going to load up the box against anyways, because Cooper Rush didn't look good at all last week. So that's why I'm going with Ricky Pearsall.
Sure. Yeah. This one was a tough one for me. I think Pearsall is more like a fun play, but I think in my mind he's a little bit riskier. They've got a lot of weapons on that team. Pearsall had his return game from the gunshot wound. That's over with. He's back to normal. So I expect him not to do as well here. But the main reason I took Rico is because I think the volume will be there. Yes, they might load the box, but I'm still anticipating him getting 12 to 15 carries, but then also receptions too. Zeke, you look at the other running back in that room. Zeke only got like six or seven carries the last week. No targets, no receptions. Rico's the guy to throw to in my mind. So I think he's the safer play there. Definitely Pearsall has the higher ceiling, I think. I definitely don't see Rico going for 20 plus, but I think he's the safer play here, so that's why I'm going with him.
Yep, and we'll see how it pans out. Like I said, if it ends up being like pretty bad weather in San Francisco that day, I guess I might pivot to Rico Dowdle, but for this, I might just be throwing in the towel, I guess. But we'll see. Rico Dowdle's definitely a guy that doesn't have I don't think he's going to give you like 0 points, but he's not going to give you like 20, like you said. So we'll see what happens. He's probably going to be locked in for right around 10 or so. I honestly don't even know what he scored last week. I want to say it was just below 10. So yeah, we'll see if he can fare any better this week.
Definitely. Well, this last one, I just realized are both on Dean's team. So I'm hoping the end of this. I'm hoping so. I'll say who it is. It's Cortland Sutton versus Calvin Ridley. Like we mentioned earlier with Miller. I'm on the Sutton side, but I'm hoping that Sutton scores 4 points compared to Calvin Ridley's 3 points. This one was a tough one. I mean, you look at both these guys. They both have very good matchups. And the past 3 weeks, both these guys have put up, I want to say, like over like 16 or 17 points. So they're both pretty hot and have good matchups. But the reasoning behind Cortland Sutton is because I just trust Bo Nix more than Will Levis or Mason Rudolph, whoever's out there for the Titans. Really don't have much more to offer than that. I think it's a real big toss up, and I'm going to go with the quarterback I trust more.
Yep, that totally makes sense. And I like both these guys this week too. I think the only real reason I'm leaning Ridley over Sutton is because for Sutton, going back to the game script stuff, but I could really see this Broncos-Falcons game being just like terrible. The Broncos have a really good defense and not as great of an offense. And I know Atlanta's got a decent offense, but I feel like they've got a pretty decent defense too. So I feel like they can handle the Broncos offense and maybe have some troubles against the Broncos defense. So maybe you don't see the Broncos having to air it out a ton in a game that's super close and super gross. So kind of hoping for maybe that. But like you said, Sutton's been on a heater and Bo Nix has been doing a great job finding him. So we'll see if I can keep up. But then as for Calvin Ridley, I kind of just like this matchup against Minnesota. I think Minnesota is one of the best matchups to play against in fantasy so far this year, albeit probably a little skewed with how much they were blowing teams out at the beginning of the year and teams just having to pass from behind. But I could see the same exact thing happening for the Titans in this game where they fall behind early and just have to keep throwing late in the game. And they don't really have a ton of targets to look to other than Mr. Calvin Ridley. So if that's how the game ends up and they have to throw the ball a ton, I could see Ridley having a huge day just like he's had the last few weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I really, like we said earlier, I really think this is a toss-up. I was interested. I just looked it up. The Broncos Falcons over-unders at 44. I was low-key expecting it to be like 40, maybe even in the 30s. So it's the odds makers are expecting it to be a little bit more high scoring than I anticipated. But yeah, this one's a toss up. And like I said earlier, hopefully these guys both go for 4 fantasy points or less.
Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, that's funny you brought up that line. I was kind of thinking the same thing. That was a little high, but I kind of thought to myself, I don't really think I like betting unders. They're kind of just tough to watch when you're watching them. And I feel like I just hate doing them. And I always get burned if I bet them. So yeah. I decided to opt away from taking an under for our best bets in that game.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I think we covered them all. You ready for a trivia question?
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. So this one's a little different. Definitely one that we have not done before. And I'm gonna let you choose. So the question is, who has the most fumbles since 2020? And it's all quarterbacks on this list. But I'm going to let you choose the actual most fumbles so that they fumbled the ball and then recovered it, or most fumbles lost. It's semi-similar list, but they're a little different. So I'll let you choose which one you want to do.
Man, I guess from a fantasy perspective, we only lose points for losing fumbles. So maybe let's do that one.
Okay. Yeah. And it's all quarterbacks. And it's since 2020.
Oh, you said it's all quarterbacks. Is that a coincidence or is that actually the case?
I think it's actually the case. I mean, it makes sense for, I feel like running backs, if you fumble, they don't quarterbacks, some guys will fumble once a game, or it feels like once a game. And the running backs, it's all right, if you fumble 2 games in a row, you're getting benched. So, and it's also since 2020, the QBs are playing almost every game. Running backs, you can miss games.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It probably is just quarterbacks. There probably are running backs on your list. They're just way down there.
Not in the top 20.
Jeez, that's kind of crazy. Okay. Yeah. Well, let me start with Josh Allen. I'm guessing he's number 1.
Josh Allen. So are we going fumbles lost or fumbles in general?
Fumbles lost.
All right. He's number 2, surprisingly.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I probably just need to think of quarterbacks that run. So Lamar
is number 3. All right, so I should be saying this. Josh Allen had 20 and Lamar has 19 since 2020.
Okay. What about Mahomes?
Mahomes is not in the top 15. I actually only have the 15, not 20. So he is not on there.
That's really impressive because he's probably played every drive. I don't remember him missing time in that period. Wow, that's impressive. Okay, let's go with Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow is 15th. He's not in the top 10.
I was he probably missed too much time. What about Herbert?
Herbert is not on this list either.
I'm just trying to think of guys that play a lot. Tua, he's played a lot of games in that time frame.
Tua's not on this list either.
Dak?
Dak is tied for number 10.
Okay, what about Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts is number 7.
Okay. What about Jared Goff?
Jared Goff number 4 with
I thought
18 fumbles.
you
Yep.
smirked. I thought he was going to be number 1. I was like, oh no.
Not number 1. Not number 1. Number 4.
What about a guy that's a lot like Jared Goff? How about Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins number 6.
Okay. Man, I'm guessing Rodgers has missed too much time in that span. What about Derek Carr?
Good guess. Number 5.
Okay. What about Russ?
Tied for 10. Yep.
Okay. And how many am I missing now?
So you're missing number 1, number 8, and number 9.
Number 1? Like, Kyler's missed too much time, right? He was the only other guy that, like, came right to mind, but...
Correct. Stafford is not in top 15. All 3 of these guys are active. One of them, they would all be starting this week, except one of them is hurt. So
would all be hurt starting this week. Someone's hurt. Baker? I feel like he hasn't played enough games.
Not Baker.
Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones, number 8.
Dude, and he missed a whole season with an ACL and he's still on there?
Yep. Yes, you're missing number 1 and number 9. Number 1 is currently hurt.
Man, I'm surprised I can't. Is Minshew on there? I know he's not the one that's
Minshew's number 9.
Okay.
Good guess. Yeah.
I was like, he's a guy that's just played a lot, albeit for some different teams. Dude, who is number 1? And he's hurt?
Let me double check that he's hurt, I guess. Now you're making me second guess. Wait, yeah, he definitely is.
Oh, it's T-Law.
Yep, exactly.
Wow, he's number 1? That's crazy.
Number 1. Yeah, so Lawrence has had 22, Allen 20, Lamar 19, and then it pretty much just goes down by 1. But what I thought was interesting, the other list, so like who's fumbled and then recovered, Kirk at 45, Justin Fields at 44, Kyler Murray at 43. And then we run into a lot of guys that you said, but like Fields and Kyler they fumble, but they don't lose the ball, I guess, as much.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm surprised they're like way up there, but not even on the other lists. And it might have taken me a second to get Fields. I don't even think I would have thought of him right off the bat, even though he has played like 3 full seasons in that span of time. Maybe 4. Oh no, he was drafted in 21, so 3. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he was number 13 in terms of total fumbles lost, but I mean, I kind of thought it was interesting. Like we look at number 1, Kirk Cousins, 45 fumbles, but 16 lost. I mean, would never have guessed it was that many.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess like some of those pocket passers too. Probably. Oh no, because you said it's more like the rushing guys that have been good at recovering.
I mean, it's kind of both. Like I kind of anticipate too. Like I mean, like just like fumbled snaps and stuff too, where you just lay on the ball. Like I guess that counts. So
that's kind of what I was thinking. Like pocket quarterbacks probably have a lot of those plays where like you just like get hit in the pocket and like you just land on the ball or whatever. And like Lamar might not have that happen as often. So that's kind of what I was thinking there. But yeah, that's super interesting. That's a good question too. I was definitely not expecting that one.
Yeah, it was something different, but no, you did a really good job there. So good work.
Minshew was definitely the one of concern, and I was able to pull that. I can't believe I guessed him before Lawrence. That's insane. But
no, that was good. That was a good pull. All righty. Well, I guess all we got left is our best bets. So do you want to kick us off with yours?
Yeah, I can kick us off because I got 3 this week. So I'll go ahead and start us off and round us out. I did really like a lot of the board this week, I think, like I said earlier. So I did end up going with 3 picks this week. We'll see if I can cash in or maybe get burnt. But I guess maybe I should recap last week's as well before we get into these. Almost forgot about that, but we did split last week's for me. The Bengals plus 4.5 ended up hitting very late in the game. They went down 7 with less than 2 minutes left for sure. And they were able to march down the field and score. And then I even was thrilled to see they were going for 2 so that my bet could just end right away and they cover. We don't have to worry about the Ravens getting the ball in overtime and scoring right away. So that was pretty awesome to see watching that live too. And then as for the Vikings, definitely a letdown this week against the Jags. That was one of like the weirdest games I've ever seen. And maybe that's another thing I should have thrown in with Brian Thomas is like he had a tough week with Mac Jones against that Vikings D, but they never really forced them to like have to throw it all. Like the Jaguars were always in the game despite doing literally nothing on offense. So weird game for the Vikings, and I'm really hoping they can bounce back this week, which will lead me into my first pick, which is the Vikings -6.5 at the Titans. And I believe this one's about -102. So not as good of odds as last week against the Jags, but still basically even odds to take them to win by a touchdown or more. And I really like the Vikings for all the same reasons as last week. I think they should crush them this game like last week. We didn't see it come to fruition last week, and I feel like the Vikings should be a little pissed after their tough performance last week and bounce back against this Titans team who's been struggling all year.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Titans, I mean, you can just fade the Titans. The Titans stink.
Hey, now one of my bets hit on a Titans money line. Not so
All right,
bad.
my bad. No, but I love it. I mean, you get the 6.5, so you can win by a touchdown there. Yeah, I see no reason the Vikings don't win by 10 or more there. So
yep. I want to say it was 5 or 5.5 when I took it and just moved the line up a little bit. Yeah. So I don't see any reason why. I mean, if they win by 6, that's going to be a tough look. But I don't see any reason why you wouldn't take that.
Definitely. Well, I'll make this short and sweet. I'll recap mine. Never doing that again. 3-team about even odds money line parlay. Chiefs thought they were the easiest one, barely won. Broncos, they got the job done. Bears, horrible. Why on earth did I even think about the Bears? That was a terrible play there. So we're gonna take that loss and move on. We're starting off with the big one. Lions -13. We're all on the Detroit train. The massive line to cover. I don't care. I think they blow them out. Keep like we mentioned earlier. Keep the foot on the gas. And just blow them out. Win by 20. Let's have a 28-0 halftime score. With David Montgomery 3 touchdowns.
Let this guy cook, man. I love that analysis. Nothing more to add. All right,
Exactly.
On to my next pick, and we're going with a similar pick as last week. I'm going back to the Bengals, but this time we're taking the money line. I believe they're 1.5-point dogs against the Chargers, so pretty much a toss-up between the two. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the money line at +105. I really just think the Bengals, they've been playing great football all year, and I feel like they should be favored in this game, even though the Chargers have also been playing some great football. So that's why I'm going with them. And this is a must win for the Bengals. I know we've been saying a lot of these games are like somewhat must wins for them, but it's like you're playing the Ravens last week. It's like, that's not a must win when you're playing a team like that against a team like the Chargers, who are kind of like upper middle of the pack. Like, these are games that they really need to win to show that they belong in the playoffs. So that's why I love the Bengals this week. I think they're going to go in there and get the win. Nothing more to add.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as long as they can hold the Chargers to under 35 points, which I think they will, then I like the chances there. But yeah, I won't add much onto that one. I like the pick there and just keep the Chargers off the scoreboard. So
yeah, I'm actually super excited to watch this game. I saw it's on Sunday night this week, and we have like a super high like passing offense like the Bengals going up against like a ground and pound type offense like the Chargers. I think it's gonna be a really interesting matchup to watch.
Yeah, it should be fun. I didn't even know it was Sunday night, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. We'll go to our second one. So this line is not out yet, but I already talked about it earlier. We're taking Breece Hall rushing yards against the Colts. Been doing this recently. I've just been taking whatever the line is for the Colts, or for the running back that's facing the Colts. I expect it to be around 65, 70 rushing yards. But whatever it is, I'm gonna take it there, even if it's at like 75. I still got a lot of faith in Breece, and they've started to get him a little bit more involved. I don't know. I'm still worried with that Jets offense, but fade the Colts in their run defense.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Yeah, if there's ever a week where Breece Hall is going to crush his total, it's going to be this week against the Colts. So we'll see if he can finally get it done. But yeah, still holding my breath, but I feel like this is like the perfect spot to do it. I'm just too afraid to say this is going to be the spot where he does it.
I'm still waiting to see him break some off. I feel like last year, the year before, whenever he was good. I mean, I felt like he was breaking off runs like every other game, like 70-yard bombs. So we'll see. Hopefully he gets it done this week, but not too many, because the Colts got to win. But
yeah, that's actually a fantastic point. I feel like last year he had not only like just a lot of breakaway runs, but like a lot of breakaway screens too. Yeah. Now he's in an offense that's like just way better at quarterback and at wide receiver, which should open things up more for him. And we just haven't seen those explosive plays, which is probably what's been killing him. Because I mean, if you have one of those every other game where you run from like the 50 and score, I mean, that's an extra double-digit points every other week. So I mean, we're just yet to see that out of Breece Hall, and that's probably what we expected when we were drafting him in the top, 3 to 5 picks.
Definitely.
All right. Well, let me get off that sad note and into our last pick here. Hopefully
Not so
everyone.
fast. I got a third pick too.
Oh, all right. Surprise third pick out of
You
Colin.
said you were doing third picks, so I'm like, all right, I'll match you.
My bad, man. My bad. You didn't fill out the sheet. I didn't know.
My bad. That's on me. My hands up. That's on me.
All right. With our last pick here, we're going with another road team. So we got 3 road teams here on our best bets. We'll see if that pans out. We got the Falcons money line at Denver. Like I said, I feel like this could be kind of an uglier game, like we talked about at first. But I think the Falcons offense is definitely more well equipped to get the job done. I just trust them a lot more than I do this Denver team, even though Bo Nix has looked really good so far as a first year quarterback. So I expect the Falcons behind Kirk Cousins to just be able to get things done, even if it's tough, like grinded out game. I feel like they should be able to get it done. And they're also coming off a heartbreaker against the Saints where they lost because Koo missed 3 field goals. So obviously you're not going to see that again out of Koo. He's one of the league's best kickers. And I feel like the Falcons are going to have a little chip on their shoulder coming into this game against Denver. I feel like they'll be ready for this road one.
Absolutely. Would you say the spread was again?
I took their money line. I want to say they were 2.5.
Okay.
But I got them at plus 114. I don't think I said that.
I got you. Nice. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Falcons are also a team that I bet on to win their division. So I'm all Falcons. I'm rooting for that there.
Perfect.
So, well, I'll go into this last one, matching you with 3. We're going back to our favorite thing ever. Prime time running back receiving yards. But wait, it's not on Thursday night. It's on Monday night. So we're eliminating the curse there. But we're going with Kareem Hunt receiving yards. This is they play the Bills. Bills average 6.6 receptions given up to running backs with 58 yards. Kareem Hunt, his receiving total, usually in like the teens, maybe 20s. It might be bumped up a little bit this week. But I don't care. He's coming off a great receiving game last game. They got him involved there. I think he had like 60 or 70 receiving yards. So we love that. And it kind of goes back to me and Tommy were looking at Detroit receiving yards. We were looking at Jahmyr Gibbs last week. And Tommy called out, he was like, hey, Jahmyr Gibbs is only 25 plus. It was like plus, I don't even know, 130 maybe. Plus odds at 25.
I think it was like 195.
Yeah. Okay. It was even better than that. But yeah, I kind of expect that to be the same for Kareem Hunt. I'm just going to take whatever his receiving yards is. So if it's 19 and a half, I'm going to take that, not the 25 plus. But even if his regular line is over 25, I've got full confidence in him. Very good matchup for a running back against the Bills.
I was going to ask, I feel like I wouldn't expect it to be over 25, I guess, but how high do you think you'd go on his over-under? Because against the Bills, I feel like this is probably the game where it's going to be like the highest it's been all year.
I'll make the decision right now. I'll cut it at 30. If it's above 30 and a half, I'm not going to take it, but anything lower than that, I've got confidence in.
That's probably what I would expect. And hey, man, you're still welcome to take it. It just might be a little more risky than it was.
Right. Yeah, but we'll cap it at that. If it closes or opens above 30 and a half, then we'll wash that one out. So
perfect.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps it up. You got anything else you want to add before we close this out?
I don't think I got anything else to add. Thanks to Miller for calling in with a great question, and thanks to all of our other co-hosts we've had on here as well. This has been a fun season doing this, so thanks guys for coming on and giving your input.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks to Miller and thanks to everyone else. We'll be back next week. Definitely have a lot to talk about as we mentioned. A lot of big playoff implications this week for fantasy. So shout out to the Shovel Mitch League, and we'll see you next week. Go Colts and go Lions.